When he leaves the border, he calls me and he was with a shaking voice. He tells me they didn't give me a $120 fine. There's quite a few digits on the fine, and he was scared to tell me how much it was. He was shaken. He says it's $6,250 fine. And I had to reassure him and try and calm him down, but he was completely shaken.
Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
Katherine Krozonouski here for Rebel News. I'm in Thornhill, Ontario today with Chanie Zaltzman, who is speaking to me on behalf of her 15-year-old son, who was slapped with over $6,000 worth of fines crossing the border. He was fined because he didn't have a COVID test, but he actually did. It was just a small communication error in the email address, which we'll let Chanie explain. It's a huge fine for a minor, and we're going to get to the bottom of how that happened. But stick around until the end of the video because I'm going to get an update from our legal team on the status of this case. And I'm also going to ask you to get involved in helping Chanie and her whole family and the thousands of other people that we're helping with Fight the Fines.
This happened in June. My son was in New York with his friends, and he took a COVID test on Sunday, and he was returning on Monday. He took an Amtrak from New York to Buffalo, and then he had a taxi from Buffalo to the border, and then another taxi from the border back home to Toronto. And when he arrives at the border, he's calling me. As he's approaching the border, he's calling me and asking me, can I forward my COVID test to the taxi driver? And he has no phone. So he tells me to forward the COVID test result to the taxi driver. And I'm like, I never got a COVID test result. He tells me, but I sent it to your email. And I realized that it was because he was missing the dots between my first and last name in my email. So he arrived. We tried to get a COVID test. The thing is that he arrived to Buffalo around 12 a.m. So we couldn't get a COVID test there done like in Buffalo. And he tried to check into a hotel because I had a COVID test that I would get the result. I would get it. I would call the place where he did it and get the result the next morning. He tried to check into 3 hotels. And all the hotels refused to take him because he's a minor. He's 15 years old, so he couldn't check into a hotel, and he had to go through the border. And so we tried to explain at the border. He explained that he has a COVID test. We can show it to them the next morning, but right now we don't have it. So they said it's okay. We'll call public health and try and let him through the border. Public health calls me in the middle of the night, and I explained to them the situation. They said that's okay. They were actually not interested in seeing the COVID test the next day, but they told me we'll let him through. And they gave him, they said, well, it's just a $125 fine. So I reassured my son that he'll get through the border. He should just hold on. And he's by the border, and when he leaves the border, he calls me, and he was with a shaking voice. He tells me they didn't give me a $120 fine. There's quite a few digits on the fine, and he was scared to tell me how much it was. He was shaken. He says it's $6,250 fine. And I had to reassure him and try and calm him down, but he was completely shaken.
He comes home with over $6,000 fine, and he's scared, right? And now you are on the hook for that fine.
Yeah, he was definitely traumatized. He wasn't treated very well by the border, by the officials. He was traumatized, and the next day when he's home, in the morning when he got home, we tried to calm him down and tell him that it's okay. We're not going to take the money from. It's not like he has money to pay for it. I told him not to worry about it. It's not an amount that we can pay anyways, and I'll try to do whatever I can, and that he shouldn't worry about it. But the trauma of the border and everything that he went through, trying to find a place, trying to find a hotel. He did go through quite a night.
He did get his negative test, right? His test did come back negative.
Yeah, I know. What I wanted to add that they were not interested in seeing the COVID test the next day. Neither public health nor the border. I told them I can show it to you the next day, but that was not relevant to them.
Unfortunately, there is no rule for showing your test within 24 hours at the border. It's fictitious. It's never been a rule. It's akin to showing up to the police station with an insurance card if you've been pulled over and you don't have that. It doesn't exist, unfortunately. You must have proof of your test when you're crossing the border. That includes if you're a minor and if you're vaccinated, whether or not you're accompanied.
That sounds like an ordeal, the poor guy. So he was with a friend. Was the friend also going through the same motions, or the friend had his test?
So the friend was with him, thankfully to my son, and he had a test. He had a test with him, but he was just there waiting for my son. He wasn't going to leave him alone, stranded. So he was there supporting him a little.
That's good. That's a nice friend. I was a minor once traveling alone, and my flight was overbooked, so they had to put me in a hotel, and the hotels said the same thing to me. They wouldn't take me because I was under 18 at the time. And you said that the border officials weren't very nice to your son. Is that right?
They were a little bit treating him like, why don't you have your COVID test here? Like, you're doing something wrong. They were very strict with him. They were not trying to calm him down at all.
That feeling of like, I just want to get home, and I'm being told I can't get home, and I can't sleep in a safe, warm bed in a hotel room. And then I wonder also how the fine went from $125, which is what they told you, to over $6,000.
Public health said that it was $125, and then the border agent gave him a $6,000 fine.
It's like, that is not in the budget, right? $6,000. I'm so sorry that happened to you, but I'm so glad that we can help you fight this fine in court at no cost to you. How did you hear about Fight the Fines?
So the next day, I posted about this fine with all my shock on a family chat, and a cousin of mine told me about Ezra Levant and Fight the Fines and Rebel News. So I said, you know what, I'll try it.
Yes, that's amazing. So if you don't already know, Rebel News, we use our network of viewers and donors who generously donate to a registered Canadian charity called the Democracy Fund. So none of the money comes to Rebel News. It goes from the Democracy Fund straight to the legal teams, the lawyers and the paralegals who will be fighting these fines for you.
I'm really thankful for this charity organization and all the work that you do.
I'm going to get an update from the legal team. Thank you so much for talking to me.
I feel that this case is definitely a winner. I've already found several flaws in the way that this case is being presented. It's not going to be for any sexy or dramatic reason, but I can definitely see this being withdrawn. And if it's not withdrawn, there's going to be a whole host of triable issues that we serve on a platter for the Justice of the Peace to review. Namely, that this is a youth that we're talking about. The Provincial Offences Act actually dictates that the maximum amount of fine that can be given to a youth offender is actually $300. So they can't change that on an offense notice because it has to be the set fine. But $300 is the maximum that a Justice of the Peace can give, or the set fine, whichever is lower, obviously. And the Justice of the Peace can also give a complete discharge as well. So we'll see how this goes. I'm not looking to reduce the fine. I'm not looking to get the fine thrown out. I'm looking to get the entire thing thrown out, and I'm looking to get the entire thing dismissed prior to even going to court. So I feel very good about the chances that this case has, and I look forward to fighting it.
To help us keep fighting for the liberty of all Canadians, please visit fightthefines.com today and donate. You really can make a difference.